Yes. I hope a student can hear us. Okay. So let's start. Good afternoon, everyone. So we did our first introductory sort of session on how to prepare for Jamia Hamdard RCA entrance examination. In that session, we talked about the advantage of being in RCA and details about the location, the intake capacity, and examination process. Now, while we do not have confirmed estimate, probably sort of 1,000 people probably do apply for this entrance examination. So we thought, for the benefit of those students, we will go through analysis of the previous year papers and look at what is the kind of weightage different subjects have, what is the weightage for the CSAT, etc. So without taking much time, let's move to the session. So before we get into the analysis of the paper, let's just once again go through the details of the written test. So it is going to be 100 marks objective type of papers. Now the syllabus for the paper includes most of what is prescribed for general studies for prelims, whether it is polity, whether it is economy, whether it is modern history, ancient history, a little bit of art and culture, environment, science tech, and also some portion of the CSAT. So you do find here logical reasoning, analytical ability, and general mental ability and quantitative aptitude. So that is so in a sense it also covers the CSAT paper in the same paper, and the time is going to be 2 hours. The maximum marks are 300, and there will be negative marking. So unless you know or can use elimination method, etc., please do not mark all the question. So that is one thing you have to keep in mind. Now we did try to find out the previous year paper, but we could only get our hands on paper from 2022, 2021, and 2020. So we will look at the 2022 paper to get an idea what is the kind of breakup of marks and question, of course, for different subjects. Yeah. So if you look at 2022 paper, right, the polity has the highest weightage. There were 11 questions out of the 60. Then economics, then you had science and tech also, then you had pretty much same weight for history, geography, etc. And some bit of science tech also overlap this current affairs. So if there are questions on naval ships, etc., you can sometimes classify them into science tech, sometime into current affairs, depending on the way you want to classify them. The current affairs is also have so I said 5 questions which you can precisely put into current affair topic. Otherwise the science tech and that kind of topic has an overlap. Similarly, there were a couple of questions in economics which were sort of in the news in that year. So that is one. CSAT had in that year 10 questions out of 60. So I would say a good number of questions there. So one would have to definitely practice, and CSAT, like in UPSC prelims, cannot be ignored. So this is the same in terms of the pie chart. You can have a look at the mark distribution and the weightage of different subjects. Now let's look at some of the questions from 2022 papers, and that will give us an idea the kind of question you can expect in this year examination also. So let's move to 2022 questions. So this is one of the question which has been actually asked in UPSC mains also, constitutional morality. So the question is, which one of the following statement best describe constitutional morality? Option A, it is commitment to the constitution value for inclusive and democratic process. Option B, it is set of constitutional principles that puts limits on the power of the government. Option C, it means that law is valid only if the correct procedure has been followed by the legislature. Option D, it is legal maxim that no person is of the law and people are ruled by the impersonal law. Now let's move from D to A. So option D, it is legal maxim that no person is of the law and people are ruled by the impersonal law. Now this, of course, this is anyway sort of written in the constitution that no person is of the law, and equality before law. If you look at those the article, it clearly mentioned that, and we can safely eliminate that this is not what the meaning of constitutional morality is. Right, now let's look at option C. It means the law is valid only if correct procedure has been followed by legislature. This is also not the meaning of the the constitutional morality, because this is there somewhere else, procedure adopted by law and all those things. We already know about this. Now we look at option B. It is set of constitution principle that puts limit on the power of the government, and actually constitution is this is what the purpose of the constitution, that it puts limits on the power of the government and to different organ of the government. So this is what is the meaning. So this is also not the constitutional morality, so we can reject that. Now we are left with option A, which is it is commitment to constitutional value for inclusive and democratic political process, and this is the right answer, because constitutional morality precisely means that the kind of the values etc. which has been there in the constitution, those should be adopted while in the political process and governance of the country. Therefore the answer is A. So if you look at this question, I would say it is something which was in the news, and it is a pretty simple question, not very complicated in that sense. Now let's look at another question. Yes. So question number 2, which of the following are the discretionary power of the governor of the state? Now discretionary power of the governor are clearly mentioned in Lakshmikant. So this question, if you have revised your Lakshmikant multiple times, you can safely attend this question. So option A option 1 reads, recommending imposition of president rule in the state. Now this is clearly mentioned that governor can do that. This is explicitly mentioned. So that is a correct option. The statement 2, which is dissolution of the assembly if the council of minister has lost its majority. So this is, while not explicitly mentioned, I think this is part of the discretionary. This is a discretionary power, but not explicitly mentioned of the governor. So this is also a correct statement. Option 3, promulgating ordinances. Now this is, we know, is not the discretionary power of the governor. It is actually the power of the council of minister, which exercise it, and the governor promulgate only on the aid and advice of the council of the minister. So you can safely say that the statement 3 is incorrect. Therefore we have only one option which has 1 and 2 both, which is option A. So option A is the correct. Now let's move to question number 3. So yeah, now this question, if you look at this is also part of our polity. So dealing with the money bill. Money bill can be introduced in parliament only on the recommendation of the president. Statement 1. Statement 2, Rajya Sabha can detain ordinary bill for maximum of 6 months. Statement 2. Statement 3, constitutional amendment bill must be introduced only by a minister. Now if you have gone through Lakshmikant, you can clearly mark the statement 3 as incorrect, because constitutional amendment bill can actually be introduced even by an ordinary member who is an MP and not part of the government, in that sense. So if you mark option 3 as incorrect, now you have 3 options left which could be the right answer. You have two options, option A and option B. Now if you read statement number 2, the Rajya Sabha can detain ordinary bill for a maximum of 6 months. This statement is also true. The ordinary bill can be detained by Rajya Sabha for 6 months. In total, in a different, if you add up both the times. So this statement is correct. Therefore, option 1 and 2 both are in that sense correct. And if you read option 1, money bill can only be introduced in Parliament only on the recommendation of the President. That's also a correct answer. So option A and 2 both are correct. Now let's look at other questions. Yeah. So question number 13. This is from polity. Now question number 13 reads as, consider the following statement: easing of external commercial borrowing by domestic companies. That is statement 1. Statement 2, allowing Indian company to list in foreign exchange. Statement 3, nationalization of private companies. Statement 4, reducing investment limit for sovereign government bond scheme. Now the question is, which of the measures given above may help contain balance of payment crisis? Now if we look at balance of payment crisis happen when you have more outflow than inflow in terms of forex. Now to deal with this, if India was in such a condition, which happened in 1991, if that were to happen again, what would the measures can be taken by government? Now let's read statement 1. Easing of external government borrowing by domestic company. Yes, that would help because that would allow Indian companies to borrow, and that will lead to inflow of foreign exchange, especially dollar into India. So option 1 is correct. Statement 2, allowing Indian company to list in the foreign stocks exchange. Now that will also help because when for Indian company list in the foreign stock exchange, that will lead to inflow of capital, which will be they will let's say they issue shares which will give them certain funding where that will flow into India. So statement 2 is also correct. Now nationalization of private companies. Now nationalization of private company would not help because it will scare investor and it will lead to further outflow of capital from India. Therefore, it will be exactly opposite of what we want. So option 3 is incorrect. Now, if you were to use elimination method and look at the options which have option 3 as part of the as part of the combination, you can safely eliminate option B and option D. Therefore, we are left with option A and option C. Now, let's read statement 4. Reducing investment limit for the sovereign gold bond scheme. Now that would reducing investment into sovereign gold bond scheme. If you were to do that, people will essentially buy gold, right? So whatever demand is there for sovereign gold bond scheme, that will move to the gold, and that will lead to outflow of more demand of people buying gold, and for that you have to pay in dollars. Therefore, it will lead to outflow of capital. And that would be exactly opposite of what we are trying to address here. Therefore, statement 4 is incorrect, and the correct answer is option A. Okay. So yes, this is one more question from 2015 paper, which is question number 15. Let's read this question. Which of the following are most likely impact of high fiscal deficit in the economy? Right. So this question was asked in 2022 and even relevant today because government fiscal deficit has actually gone high in last 3 years due to the COVID crisis and the steps government took. Now let's read various statement. Statement 1, lower interest rates on borrowing. Statement 2, possibility of debt trap. Statement 3, lowering of sovereign credit rating of the country. Statement 4, increased dependence on foreign countries on financial institution. Now let's go through all the statement one by one. Most likely impact of higher fiscal deficit, lower interest rate on borrowing. That would not happen because when the government borrows, there will be less available. When the government borrows, it borrows more and more, and simple law of supply and demand will apply, and the interest rate, which is actually the price of money, right, will go up. So we can reject the statement 1 is actually incorrect. Now let's read so now we can also, in the sense, use elimination method and reject option A and option B, which both of them have statement 1 as the correct option. So now A and B are gone, we are left with C and D, right? Now C and D both have 3 and 4, therefore we can assume that 3 and 4 are correct. Now let's only go through statement number 2, which says possibility of debt trap. Now that is very likely to happen, because when debt trap happens when you're unable to repay your debt, and a lot of money, resources go into serving the interest. So statement 2 is also correct, therefore we have our right answer, which is option D, right? We can go through statement 3 and 4. Lowering of sovereign credit rating of the country, that will happen. And statement 4, increase dependent on foreign country or foreign institution, that will also happen, because let's say you have a crisis, you will be forced to borrow up from abroad, like happened in case of Sri Lanka last year. So of course that is also a most likely impact of high fiscal deficit in the economy. Now let's look at other questions. Okay, now we look at CSAT, which we mentioned, and we'll also go through other questions, but just look at the kind of thing when it comes to CSAT. And in 2022 paper, you find different topics like number system, coding, decoding, and Venn diagram, circular motion, the average age, etc. kind of question. The questions are relatively simple. I wouldn't put them into really difficult bracket, like was happened in UPSC prelims 2023 in CSAT. So question relatively simple, and we do not find any question from reading comprehension. So this the paper sticks to the syllabus prescribed in the notification. So yeah, this is sort of the weightage the CSAT paper has in the entrance examination. If you look at 2022, there were total 60 questions, out of them 10 were from CSAT. Look at 2021, there was 100 questions, and you had 13 questions from CSAT. And if you look at 2020 paper, there were 100 questions, out of them there were 10 questions. So decent weight, and it cannot be ignored. You have to prepare. You can go through your whatever notes you have, and if you have gone through any classes, revise them, practice a little bit, but the questions are not very difficult, right? So let's try and solve few questions from CSAT also. Okay, so the average of 5 consecutive number is n, and if the next two numbers are also included in the averages, this is question number 53. So let's read question number 53. The average of 5 consecutive number is n. If the next two numbers are also included, the average will be, right? So now there are two ways to do it. Actually, you can simply take those numbers as 1 to one is very rudimentary method, that you take 5 number, let's say 1 2 3 4 5, and calculate the average. You would take the next two number and will calculate the average. You can find the answer. What happens, right? The other is you can take the sum as, let's say, you can take the average as x, and the 5 numbers as x minus 2, x minus 1, x plus 1, x plus 2, right? Then you would have next two number as x plus 3, x plus 4, right? Now if you take, in that sense, since x is the average, you are left with 7 in the end, and your denominator is also 7. So if you divide that, the number will go up by 1. You can simply reach to that conclusion. So the correct answer is option A, which is increase by 1. Now let's look at another question from the CSAT section. Yeah, so this is the question number 58. Yeah, so let's look at question number 58. Yes, just a minute. I'll look at question number 58. The question reads that among 200 people, 90 like tea, while 108 like coffee, and 46 people like both tea and coffee. And how many people like neither tea nor coffee? I would say it's a very simple question, and this is the basic what we practice in CSAT. Even if you have not practiced, you can simply solve it. So if 90 people like tea, you have 108 like coffee, there's going to be some overlap, right? So the people who like both will be counted twice. So you have, your answer will be, if you add 90 plus 108, so you get you will get 198. From that, the number of people who would have liked both will be counted twice in that. So if you reduce that number, you subtract that from the total, you will get 198 minus 46, you will get 152, right? And now that is the number of people who either like tea, coffee, or both, right? So that's the number. Now how many people like neither tea or coffee? That is going to be the the number from 200. If you subtract the number of people who like either one or both, you get the number, which will be 200 minus 152, which is your correct answer is option D. So I would say pretty simple questions in CSAT, and there are others also, but not very, I would say, very complicated, and you can, if you have practiced a little bit also, you would be able to solve them. Now let's look at some of the questions from 2021, and to get these will be from a little different topic. So I'm sure when you read medieval history, this is something you get. Consider the following Persian painters: first is Mir Musawir, Mir Sayyid Ali, Abdul Samad, and Farooq Beg, and who among the above were brought to India from Iran by Mughal Emperor Humayun? So I think this is a pretty standard answer, and we know, and this is especially in medieval, and we study that these the painter was sort of responsible for bringing a different kind of, they brought the element of Persian painting, and that led to further development of Indian paintings. And these two painters are actually Mir Sayyid Ali and Abdul Samad. So your correct answer is option C. So I would also mention this, that these kind of questions from medieval tend to come frequently in JHRCA entrance examinations. So you would especially keep in mind about the Sultanate period and the Mughal period and the architecture and other art and culture development in this period. You can expect those questions, so you should pay a little bit attention on that part of the syllabus. Now this is also from 2021, question number 18. Now let's look at, this is also, I would say, a pretty standard question if you've gone through Lakshmikant. Who among the following is not appointed by the President of India? Option A, Chief Minister of National Capital Territory of Delhi. Option B, Pro Tem Speaker of Lok Sabha. Option C, Solicitor General of India. And option D, Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha. I'm sure people do not have confusion about Solicitor General of India. He is also appointed by the President, like the Attorney General. Then we have Pro Tem Speaker of Lok Sabha. He or she is actually appointed by President because just before election of the Speaker, which takes place once the new Lok Sabha is elected. Now you may find a little confusing the Chief Minister of National Capital Territory of Delhi because probably this and probably Tamil Nadu, Puducherry's Chief Minister would also be appointed by President in that sense. So these are the only two Chief Ministers which will be appointed by the President of the country, because they are union territory, but they have their own legislature and separate government. Now the correct option is actually option D, which is Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha. While the Chairman of Rajya Sabha is appointed by President, he or she is the Vice President of the country and appointed by the President of the country, but the Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha actually is elected by members among themselves. So that's not an appointed position, that is an elected post. Okay. Now let's look at option number 29 from 2020. Question number 29 from 2021 paper. If not limited in quantity, Bad money drives good money out of circulation. The above law states that people always want to hold good money, genuine currency, and spend bad money, counterfeit currency, when both are in circulation at the same time. Now, this is, I would say, a little difficult question, because we do not find such questions in the UPSC, and even being studied, I've seen many notes, but you would hardly find this question anywhere in economics notes for UPSC, whether it is, I think, standard books or the notes which are available in the market. So Engel's law, Dow theory, Keynesian economics theory, right, etc. Now, Keynesian economic theory, if you guys know, sure. Keynesian economic theory is about the role of government in the economy, but if you look at Dow theory, is related to, I think, the stock prices, etc. Engel's law, well, I'm not familiar, but the correct answer is Gresham's law, which state that the bad money will drive good money out of circulation, and we can understand that because something which is, let's say, counterfeit, you're more likely to use that because you want to get rid of it as soon as possible. Okay, so that is okay. So that is yeah. So now let's look at other questions. Yeah. So this is question number 39 from 2021 paper. Now consider the following tribal groups: Birhor, Koli, Kurukh, Ho. Now these are four tribal group mentioned in the question, and the options are which of the above are found in Chota Nagpur region, right? Now I'm sure you guys have studied geography, and the Chota Nagpur region is the region in the central India, and this is highly it is forested and sparsely populated, yet inhabited by different type of tribal groups in the country. Now I would say that it's not very difficult question, a little difficult for student of GS, because you may not have actually gone through the name of the numerous tribes. Even if you know them, you may not know which one are located in the central India, Chota Nagpur region, right? Now, Bihor is actually found in this region. So is Ho, Munda, Kurukh, all these tribes which are found in the region. Koli is actually not found in Chota Nagpur region. It is found in the Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh, in region, in, I would say, northern part of the country. Okay, let me just get my mic checked. I think the voice is a little, it's not proper, so they would want to check it. Okay, we'll continue with our session. Now let's look at another question. Question number 43. Now this is also geography. Let's go through this question. Which one of the following pair is not correctly matched? So please pay attention with correct, sometimes the question will ask you to identify correct, sometimes not correct. So please mark that. We'll circle not to remember that. Now, option A, karst region, an area of land characterized by underground river formed by soft rocks like limestone or calcium carbonate that dissolve in water, right? So this is there in the NCERT. This is something which will also be covered by your notes and faculty if you're going through classes anywhere, right? So the karst region is actually the region where you find the landform created by the limestone and water in that sense. So when the water goes underground, it lead to dissolution of limestone and calcium, and it creates different kind of topography. So that is one, and this can be found in area where there's a lot of limestone, where you see cement manufacturing in the country. This sort of things are found, and I have seen them. So option A is actually correct. So we can reject this. Let's read option 2, Harmattan, dry and dusty wind in Sahara Desert, called Dr. Wind because of its healthful properties. Now this is well, I'm not sure this is there in the NCERT, but it's definitely there in GC Lyon, and you read through them. So the Harmattan is actually dry wind which runs into the Sahara Desert and nearby area, and it's called Dr. Wind. So that is also correct. Now let's look at option C, which is Hottentots Holland Mountain Range, homeland of Khoikhoi tribal community in Europe. I'm not sure. Actually, it is correct. And option D, actually, I'm not even sure whether Hottentot Mountain Range where it is located, and if actually this Galapagos is found there. Let's read option D. Galapagos Island, located in Pacific Ocean, which influenced Charles Darwin theory of natural selection. Well, this is correct. And Darwin theory was actually Darwin, came up with this theory looking at the finches in the Galapagos Island and nearby, how they evolved differently due to the different kind of vegetation and I would say found in these different islands. So he proposed the theory of evolution, how different circumstances, the adaptation leads to evolution of different species. So this is also correct. So we can reject option D. We have already rejected option A and B. So therefore we will left with option C. Now, if I don't know, then of course I will mark option C is incorrect because, and if I know, of course you would mark. If I don't know, then also I will mark. Now there is a little bit of trick here to understand, which will come handy in the examination. Now let's look at the number of, parameters, the variables do you have in this statement. Hottentots Holland Mountain Range. Now that is one, right? Homeland of Khoikhoi tribal community. Okay, that is another, I would say variable. And third is Europe. Now these sort of, variable in the statement leaves a lot of scope for examiner to play with and to make an incorrect option. So he could change, the mountain range altogether. So they actually Khoikhoi may be tribe in Europe, but not living in this mountain range. Alternatively, he or she can change, the name of the tribal group or the location, right? So they can play with any of the variable and create a wrong option. So we have to be mindful of that these kind of things, can be changed. And unless we are sure that all of them are correct, we can to an extent take a risk and mark them as incorrect in the examinations. So in this case, actually, Hottentots Holland Mountain Range is indeed homeland of Khoikhoi tribe, but this is not in Europe, and it's actually in the South Africa. It's more, very close to the, the Cape, the lower end and the Cape of the Africa in South, right? So the option C is incorrect. So a little bit of tip here: if there are a lot of variable in the option, then if you don't know all of them are correct, you can sometime take a guess and mark them as incorrect. And most of the time that option will be incorrect actually, so that would help. But sometime it can happen that it's incorrect, but if there are multiple questions, you take a guess, the odds are in your favor. Okay, now let's look at question number 41, which is from geography from the same year. Okay, Vainganga, Painganga, and Manjira are the tributary of which river? This is very standard question. I would say very basic. When you read geography, this is one thing highlighted by, even I think it's there in the NCERT, standard books, and even the faculty make sure that you know these tributaries, and they generally draw a diagram in the class also. So the option 41, Vainganga, Painganga, Manjira, if you know, they are the tributary of Godavari. So pretty straightforward answer, simple question I would say, right? So not difficult. Let's look at another question from geography, question number 44, 2021 paper. With reference to igneous rock, which one of the following statement is not correct? Once again, please make sure you mark not correct, otherwise you can make a mistake. Option A, they are formed from solidification of magma. Pretty simple. We all know that igneous rocks are indeed formed by solidification of magma, which erupt from interior of the earth. Sometimes that gets solidify inside the crust, sometimes outside the crust, but they are actually formed from the solidification of magma. Option A, correct. We can eliminate it, right? Option B, they usually do not contain any fossil deposit. Now this is actually also very logical and simple, because if the magma is very sort of very high temperature, and no fossil can actually survive that kind of temperature, and that is the reason you never find any fossil deposit in igneous rock, and therefore no coal in the igneous rock, and also you will not find petroleum or natural gas in the igneous rocks, right? So we can eliminate this. Option C, granite and basalt are two main example of intrusive igneous rock. I'm not sure whether granite and basalt are indeed intrusive. Intrusive rocks are those which are formed, by solidification of magma inside, below the surface, I would say, inside the crust. And the extrusive are the one which are formed above the surface, right? So they come out actually, and what we see, if magma from, let's say, a volcano were to erupt and on the surface it will solidify, it will be extrusive rocks compared to what would happen inside the crust and beneath the surface. Option D, they are usually granular and include more than one mineral deposit. They are indeed granular because magma is liquid, so they will be granular. They cannot be, they cannot have big, big deposits, and include more than one mineral. That is also logical because if something is coming from the earth, they cannot be, they are not different. The different minerals in that sense will be mixed, and they cannot be separate, right? Because everything is getting mixed up inside the earth. There, while in deep interior there is nickel, etc., iron and nickel, but in the middle chamber, what you find is different minerals being mixed and erupting as in magma. So option D is also correct. Now once again, coming to C, granite and basalt, both of them are actually igneous rock, but basalt is a extrusive rock and granite is an intrusive igneous rocks. So once again, if I didn't know, then our tip from the last question comes handy. There are two variable, granite, there are three variable actually. You have granite, you have basalt, right? And then you have so intrusive and extrusive, right? Now examination can easily switch any of them. It can, it could have been easily graphite and basalt extrusive igneous rock, then granite was incorrect. In this option you have granite and basalt, but basalt is extrusive, therefore the statement is incorrect. So the examiner will use these tricks to make a wrong option. So option C is not correct, therefore our answer. Okay, so now yes, now let's look at 2021 question. I think CBI is always in news for different investigation and the controversy which surrounds its autonomy and functioning. So question number 58 from 2021. Central Bureau of Investigation function under administrative control of. Now this we also read in polity to some time, and it's also often in the news, so you would know all about it. Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Personal Public Grievance and Pension. Option C, Prime Minister's Office. Option D, Cabinet Secretaries. And if you have read any article, you would know that option B is the right answer. So current affair, polity, whichever you decide, but these kind of questions are there. So now coming to the after reading, going through these questions, we can come up with some conclusion in that sense, that the level is not difficult, I would say, and they're relatively simple, at least they have been, and they're not as complicated and long statement what we are finding in UPSC prelims, especially in to an extent 2022 and to an extent in now 2020, last year 2023 we found very difficult, very lengthy question where sometimes you have to know all the options and you can't really use elimination method. So that's not the case till now, but it could happen. So be guarded on that, and don't be surprised if that happen. But that kind of paper also require a lot of effort in terms of setting up. So I'm not sure that will definitely that should happen or not. But be ready if those kind of questions do come in examination. Now you can also find one-liner question, and they are pretty simple. So attempt them. Do not miss on them. However, it is unpredictable because of the reason that while polity etc. is predictable, I would say science, tech etc. the topic, if you go through the paper, they're pretty random. I mean, very difficult to predict. Sometimes basic science to something very complicated, and you will struggle with that. So if you want to look at old papers, we'll be sharing them on our Telegram group, Jamia UPSC Society. So you will be able to go through them and find it in our group. Now coming to strategy and sources. For general studies, I will say stick to your class notes. If you have met, that's the best strategy. Do not of course you should never change your sources. Stick to them, revise them multiple times. That should be a strategy given the less time now left. A standard book, if you have gone through them, go through them, but no need to pick up another book. and try to maintain, your static portion, especially in static portion in general studies should be very strong, because that is the only thing you can generally rely on. The current affair is, unpredictable and, difficult to sort of, at times attempt, and because it could be, for example, let's say you would never study, UPSC candidate would not generally study sports, etc., and sometimes you can find questions in that, so that's why it's difficult. Now for current affair, you could expect some question, and there's no harm in going through at least, at least last 3 months standard magazine. If you have not gone through newspaper and not made from notes from newspaper, go through the last 3 months, any magazine, I would say, which is, of quality as of now. And if you have time, you have good with, general studies static portion, you can also go through 6 months just to be safe. CSAT, I would say, please practice math and reasoning topic a little bit, not very difficult question as we saw, but just practice a little bit so that you don't, your hand move and you are able to think in the examination hall. Now, yes, advice for the beginners, the examination, while the exam itself is not tough, the cutoff will be, high because of, experienced candidate, because you have to understand that if someone has been revising, these static topic for years and, gone through couple of attempts in this examination, he's already, revised them multiple times, he will retain them better. And then the experience of solving, I just told you about one tip, that multiple variable in the same statement, they can be played with and to create a wrong option. These things, candidate tend to master in 1 or 2 attempts, so they would know all these and they can, safely sort of, I would say, guess in that sense, and still manage to get those questions right. So it will be, tough questions, tough competition for new candidate, I would say. Despite that, prepare well, try elimination method. That is the only thing you can count on in the examination. So that is the advice for the beginners. Now, last few words, there are different paths to success, I would say, and RCA are means not an end. They help you to study, to be relatively tension free in that sense, because housing and your food, etc., is taken care of. You can focus on study. You find a peer group which is equally focused, motivated. You can work in groups, but I would say at the same time your target is UPSC CSE. So even if you don't make it, don't be don't take it on the heart, I would say. And you should continue your UPSC preparation, like the figure. There are many paths to success, right? So many who make it to there are people who make it to RCA and then make it to UPSC. There are people who make it to RCA but never make it to UPSC, and there are people who will never get into RCA but still make it to UPSC. So there are all sort of people, all sort of candidate, and success. There are many different paths to reach your end goal, which is UPSC, CSE, examination, getting selected in that exam, and becoming a civil servant and achieving your dream. So that is the advice from my side. And if we'll see if there are any questions, we'll take them. Else, is there any question on YouTube? Any question? Is there any question on YouTube? पहले किन्होंने बताया? मैंने तो बताया, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. So that's all from our side. I hope you find this session useful and use it for your benefit. And if you have any question, you can always ask those in our Telegram group, and we always try to answer them. Sometimes the answer could be a little late, but we do provide the right guidance. So that's there. Thank you for watching it, and we'll see you next time.